السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمد ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد. We are on almost finishing Surah Al-Baqarah. Today we'll finish Surah Al-Baqarah finally. Insha'Allah bi'idhnillah. How long have we started for? When did we start this? On the 29th of April we started? So it's been how many weeks? 2.5 weeks? About? Maybe more, right? 3 weeks, right? We started on the 24th. And today is the 14th. So you're looking at about, this is the beginning of the 3rd week. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Over here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about riba. After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about sadaqat and charity, Allah speaks about riba. الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس. Allah says the one who indulges in riba, he does not stand. This is ayah number 275, surah number 2. The one who indulges in riba, لا يقومون, they don't stand or they're not there. But like a person, كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس, like that person whom shaitan has afflicted. What does this mean? Like a jinn has afflicted a person. This is one of the only evidences in the Quran and Hadith of jinn infliction. Amongst the Sahaba and amongst the Seerah, there isn't much ahadith or much information in regards to jinn possession besides this one verse. Even though most people in our day and age, they say anything happens, sihr ho gaya, jadoo ho gaya. What is 1 plus 1? What is 1 plus 1? 1 plus 1 is? I said this before? Oh, that's why you all know this. MashaAllah. Very, very good. ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا. They said, what do you mean? What's the difference in interest? It's just like beer, it's just like normal business. Last night I was sitting with some youngsters, and one youngster said, tonight's the lottery. And everyone looked at him and said, what does that benefit you? What does it change anything to you? He's like, no, tonight's the lottery. He must have bought some ticket or something and doing dua to stop time. May I win. Why is riba haram? What is the problem with riba? In the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, riba was basically done with commodities of food. You had dates, you had wheat, you had grapes, you had barley. The fundamental hadith in measuring what riba is the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu is a sahabi who narrated the most ahadith out of all the sahaba. There were 3 categories of sahaba. One that narrated less than 100 ahadith, and this was the majority of the sahaba. Number 2, those who narrated between 101 and 1,000 ahadith. These are some sahaba. And then over 1,000, only 7 sahaba narrated over 1,000 ahadith. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrated more ahadith than any sahabi. He narrated 5,374 ahadith. 374. Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, he narrated 2,600 ahadith. He is second in line. 600 ahadith. 2,600 ahadith. Abdullah bin Umar. Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu narrated 2,286 ahadith. Aisha radiallahu anha narrated 2,210 ahadith. Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhuma narrated 1,660 ahadith. Jabir bin Abdullah radiallahu anhu narrated 1,540. Jabir bin Abdullah, he narrated 1,540. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, he is the seventh person on the list, and he narrated 1,170 ahadith. 1170. Then after that, the next two Sahaba who have the highest number of narrations is Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. He narrated 848 ahadith. And lastly, Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As, he narrated 700 ahadith. Even though Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu was the Sahabi who narrated the most ahadith, when did he accept Islam? How long did he spend time with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? 3 years. He became Muslim after Khaybar. There is a famous hadith, and that's the hadith of Riba, that he came after Khaybar and he had very good dates in his hands. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ya Aba Hurairah, akulli tamri Khaybar hakada, are all the dates of Khaybar just like this, very good dates? He said, La ya Rasulullah, no. I had 2 pounds of bad dates, low quality dates. I traded them for 1 pound of good quality dates. The Prophet ﷺ said, Hada riba, this is interest, this is haram. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, why don't you sell those 2 pounds, take the money, and then buy the 1 pound? That exact transaction isn't allowed. But if you were to sell it, take the money and then buy it, then it is allowed. The reason it's not allowed is, number one, is because it is zulm and difficulty for the person that you're buying the same thing, however the same product, I'm giving you more for it and you're getting less for it. Though the quality may be different, in the stomach it all goes down the same. So, okay, fine, the quality is different, one may be more succulent, but at the end of the day, how much is in one and there is in two is the exact same thing. And I don't mean by two, I mean by weight. So a date, some dates are 1 gram, 2 grams, and now this date over here is also 2 grams. It may be lower quality, but in the stomach it holds the same weight. Now from this one hadith, hundreds and hundreds of rubies come out, if not thousands. One thing is the Prophet ﷺ listed. He said that in salt, in dates, in barley, in wheat, in gold, in silver, أشياء ستة. Salt, barley, dates, and wheat. The Prophet ﷺ said, if these objects are being traded, then they have to be equally traded. Riba isn't in everything. So let's say I want to sell cell phones, and I have two Samsung phones, and you have one iPhone, and I tell you I'll give you two Samsung phones from one iPhone. This isn't riba. Riba is in certain items, not in all items. Wheat, I'm just confirming it is the exact same things I have mentioned. The Prophet ﷺ said, sell gold in exchange of gold, silver in exchange of silver, dates in exchange of dates, wheat in exchange of wheat, salt in exchange of salt, barley in exchange of barley. And if wal fadlu riba, and if you do more, it is riba. So now you have these 6 items. From these 6 items, the different madahib, they have different views and different perspectives on what is considered riba. According to the Hanafi fiqh, they say that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned 6 items. Now, why did he mention these specific 6 items and not any other item? What is the common thing about these 6 items? You have gold, you have silver, you have barley, you have wheat, you have dates, and you have salt. What is the common thing about all of these 6 items? Does anyone want to take a guess what is the common thing about all 6 items? By the way, all 4 imams disagree on what the principle of riba is. Meaning, how do you measure riba? Anyone want to try what is common in these 6 items? They're all what? They're what? Durability. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi is of the opinion that anything you can stock and keep, there can be riba inside, because all of these 6 things have durability to them. Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi doesn't agree with that perspective. Good. Any other? What are the common things in these 6 items? I mean, you read the book on this, didn't you? You didn't finish the Islamic banking book? It's not, this hadith isn't mentioned in there? Have you ever heard of the story of the man who said the story of Yusuf and Zulaykha? You know who Yusuf and Zulaykha is, right? Yusuf alayhi salam was the prophet, Zulaykha was the girl that was chasing him. So one man said the whole story, and the next morning, his son asked, Yusuf kahan rehti thi aur Zulaykha kahan rehta tha? They used the masculine tense for Zulaykha and the feminine tense for Yusuf alayhi salam. Allah, you missed the whole purpose of the story. Of Zulaykha? It's interesting. There's few things about Zulaykha that's interesting. Number one, Allah knows best. One of our teachers, Qari Ayyub, he had mentioned one time that the actual pronunciation is Zalikha, not Zulaykha, which is very interesting because everyone says Zulaykha. The second thing that's interesting is that there's a lot of weird things about it as well. Some say that she got married to him afterwards. Some say that, she had this love, muhabbah, all that is there, and Allah knows best what the situation was, if he got married to her, if he didn't get married to her, all that only Allah knows. But rooted in ahadith, Allah just gave us that much information and Quran. And then you have Israeliyat and you have these other narrations. The reality is that they're just used to fill up time in a lecture. They don't really have much haqiqah to them. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi says, the common thing about all six of these is makili and mawzuni. These things are either done in kay, they're measured, or mawzuni. A kay means that they're done in a certain cup or a measurement. And mawzuni is something that is weighed. So he says anything that is makili and mawzuni, there can be a riba inside it. Makili, like you know how they have those cups, and they have a measuring cup, that things that are sold in, cups, grams, pounds, liters, these are measuring cups. Now, are iPhones sold by weight? No, therefore you can sell 2 iPhones for 1 iPhone. Are homes sold by weight? No, so you can sell 2 homes for 1 home. You do this in monopoly all the time. No one says this is a riba or interest. You sell 2 properties for 1 property. Anyone play monopoly here? No play. You seemed very angry when you said yes. Did you lose the last game? No. It's only wrong if, when we used to play Monopoly with my mother, we could never win. Because we would feel bad taking rent from her. Yeah, we couldn't leave her without a house. We have to leave her with a house and hotel, at least. Makili, it's an Arabic word from Mim, Kaf, Ya, Lam, Ya. Makili. You know what the interesting thing is though? How do we trade money nowadays? Dollar bills. Right or wrong? Is paper sold by the bills that we have? Is it sold by weight or is it sold by measuring cups? No. Is the dollar, so they said, okay, you know what? The reason there's riba on money, on normal dollars, is because of the fact that they represent gold and silver. And because the Prophet ﷺ said there's riba in gold and silver, therefore it's riba in dollars as well, and pounds and all of that stuff. Make sense? But is it backed by gold and silver? The US dollar is not backed by gold. You all know this, right? The US dollar is not backed by gold. They stopped the gold reserve, in the 70s? 70s, 80s they stopped it. You don't even know. 70s, 80s they stopped it. The US dollar is not backed by gold. That was one of the things Gaddafi was trying to do. Get the Middle East to back it by gold. The world economy is backed by the US dollar. It's represented by the US dollar. The US dollar is not backed by anything. It's by trade, this and that, but it's not backed by gold or any substantial. The US has a reserve of gold in Fort Knox. No person has seen it. Besides the initial 2 or 3 people that had made the reserve, they are the only ones who have been inside. In the last 30 or 40 years, I don't believe anybody's been inside Fort Knox and seen the actual gold. If there is even gold. Allah knows best. So now, since the US dollar is not backed by gold, how can there be interest in money? He said there are 6 objects. And there is a fundamental principle. Because what do these 6 things have to do with anything? That was the first thing Radia Auntie asked. That these 6 things, what do they have to do with each other? Why is salt? So the fuqaha, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad, each one of them had their views on what is the defining principle. I gave you 2 opinions because I didn't want to go in all of them and break down and confuse everybody. Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi says, iddikhar. If you can store it, it can have riba inside it. Imam Abu Hanifa says, no, makili mawzuni. The common thread between the 2 of them is the fact that they get measured. Imam Malik said the common thread is none of them expire. So each one of them had their views of it. However, when it comes to money, if it was backed by gold, you could say there's riba in gold. But it's not backed by money anymore. So why do people say you can't take interest? Are you following what I'm saying? Yes or no? G? So when we calculate riba, right? When you go to the bank or you're buying a house, we say don't take interest, right? However, we establish that interest doesn't occur in every item. It occurs in items that are weighed and measured. Money isn't weighed or measured. If it was backed by gold, you could say, chalo, it's a gold representation. But it's not gold representation, so how can you say there's interest in money? The reason is that gold and silver, they have value because of purchasing power. And the sister is saying that money also has power of purchasing power. However, by that definition, there are so many other things that have purchasing powers as well. You have Bitcoin and you have all these other items that also have purchasing power. Purchasing power isn't the innate thing. The innate thing is how precious they are, okay? You were close, but then you went in and you took an exit. You were on the right road, and then you took an exit. The reasoning is very interesting. The reason, I'll reroute you like GPS. The reason is very interesting. If you don't consider money wealth, and you don't put riba on there, then that means zakat also doesn't happen. And if zakat doesn't happen, then the poor's right is removed. And to establish the poor's right, we say that this is exactly like gold and silver, even because if zakat is only on gold and silver, zakat isn't on paper. So if you were to say that, well, this dollar it's not backed by gold, nothing, you wouldn't give zakat on it. However, if you don't give zakat on it, gharib ka haq dab jayega. The poor, their right will be taken away. So to establish the right of the poor, we have said that, you know what, zakat is wajib on paper money, even though it's not backed by gold and silver. So when we establish zakat, then automatically riba got established too. Are you all following? This is what muftis do. People ask all the time, what do muftis do? This is what we do. We find that common thread, we do these mental gymnastics, and then we do this work. Now this is your tawadu and muhabbat. May Allah subhanahu bless you all. May Allah subhanahu give you barakat in your ilm and your amal. But I just wanted to take you down this route to make you appreciate how deep fiqh is and how valuable it is. ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا. They said bayع is like riba. وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. Allah has made buying and selling halal. It is sunnah. Doing business is sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ said, when you do business, do it in the early hours after Fajr. The Prophet ﷺ said, the barakah of my ummah is after Fajr. Unfortunately, we all sleep at that time, unfortunately. I had a teacher, Mufti Alauddin, the one whose son had passed away. He had said that he was in his late 70s. He's still in his late 70s. And he said, I don't remember the last time I went to sleep after Fajr. Weekday, weekend, doesn't matter. He said, if we sleep after Ishraq. Allah has kept the barakat up till Ishraq. Anything you do, any business, any item you do, Allah will give you barakat in it, bless you in it. May Allah, the Prophet ﷺ said, the barakah of my ummah is in its early hours. May Allah make us amongst those. And when the Prophet ﷺ said, ummah, we are all ummah, Muslims, non-Muslims, everyone. That is why Wall Street opens at 5 a.m. in the morning. At the Tahajjud time, they know that they also at Wall Street, before they start, they do a little dua before they start. فَمَنْ جَاءَهُ مَوْعِظَةٌ مِّن رَبِّهِ فَانْتَهَى فَلَهُ مَا سَلَفَ. The one who knows, and then he stops, whatever happened, happened. Allah won't hold you accountable. وَأَمْرُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ. And his situation is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ عَادَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. And the one who ever does it again, he will be in the fire of Jahannam and he will live there forever. يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَا وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ. Allah will erase riba and Allah will increase sadaqat. وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ كُلَّ كَفَّارٍ أَثِيمٍ. Allah does not like those people who are sinful and disbeliever. I mean, grab that board from yesterday that we had. Please put your kitab here if you want. You all will be asking me next, what about guidance and UIF and all of those Islamic financing and all that stuff, right or wrong? So I said, let me explain it right now. Interested or not? If you're not interested in it, then I won't talk about it. Islamic financing, how does it work? Yes. I told them yesterday what you do with it is that interest that gets jama, if you don't take it, they donate it to somebody. So you should take that interest, donate it to a shelter, food, not a masjid, any social service place, but that money, you should not be having it in the first place. So when you donate it, you don't make niyat of reward, ajr. But if you have some filth on you, you remove the filth away. And that's the idea. But you should. Food, shelter, all that other stuff. Yeah, you can technically give it to him, but you shouldn't give it to him, I should. You give zakat on all of your assets, all of your wealth. Anything that you don't live in. Your home you live in, there's no zakat on it. Your cars that you drive, there's no zakat. Now if you have a car that does Uber, you have zakat on the income. You have a property that you have that you rent out, you have zakat on the income. You add that with all of your other money and then you give zakat. Your gold, your silver, all of it has zakat. Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi says there is no zakat on the gold that you wear. However, according to the Ahnaf, there is no differentiation. Whether you wear it or you don't wear it, there's always zakat. Yes, I actually didn't know that. Checking accounts have no interest. There's no interest on checking accounts? So then why put money in a savings account? So the difference is that, when you are walking and someone tells you that, look, by saying salam you have reward, by smiling you have reward. So, there's all these good deeds, they add up. This person smiles, does all these good deeds. For them, their deeds are this money. So to them, any way they can get it, hal min mazid. The dunya is the end for them. That's the vision. How much ever they can get of it, they get happy. Okay. So now, people say Islamic normal mortgage, right? Normal mortgage. You all can see, right? Okay. Let's say the house is $100,000. Please tell me where this house is. I'd buy it too. It's not 100,000. Asal mein, what happened was that when Plano has barakat in it, the barakat has fell onto the prices around too. Okay. Now, the house is $100,000. Someone says, the bank says, you have 10% interest. Okay? So basically you have one person who is the buyer, A is the buyer, or we're going to call A the seller. B is the buyer, so he is selling to him and he is buying. So the house is being sold for $100,000 and he's buying it. With the interest together, how much does it come out to? $110,000. Okay? Now, if I buy down the interest rate and I say, look, the house is $100,000, we're going to put 10% interest. Together is going to, however, if you don't want to give me interest, then I'll sell you the house for $110,000. Is this permissible? Yes. I'm not talking about legally, I'm talking about Islamically. It happens a lot with car dealerships. When you finance a car, they say there's 2.2, 1.9, 1.8 interest. So you buy down the rate. You tell them in 5 years, how much interest will I pay? You'll pay $5,000 in 5 years. How much is my car worth? $50,000. Okay, sell the car to me for $55,000. Don't put interest there. I'll buy the car for $55,000. So some of the companies do allow you to buy it down. Some of them do. And the example of this is that someone says, you know what, I'm selling tickets right now at $5, but at the door it's $10. You pay earlier, $5, and then no one says, oh, this is riba. No, it's not riba. It's at a different time, the value is different. When you go outside to the store, you find milk for $3. And then a sale comes and the milk goes down. Or whatever chair, whatever object it is, there's a decrease. So seasons can have effect on the price. Just the way when there is an abundance of fruit, the value is down. And when there's less fruit, the value is higher. Okay? Now following this so far. Now when you go to UIF or guidance, a similar thing happens. What happens is that you have the first scenario. Is there a better pen? Look at it.
How is this hungry? Maybe that's I would have said wicked, but this Ramadan.
Huh?
I would have said wicked, but we're fasting, so it's hungry.
This is disgusting.
Maybe 6.
You just put it in water instead. You know what I mean? Allah will use this, however this pen is. They're bringing something? Okay. Leasing a car is fine. Leasing is like renting. You don't own it. Leasing cars is fine. There's nothing wrong with leasing cars. Yeah, but there's no interest on it though. Payments are different. There's no interest on it. Your lease is renting a car. You all understand this so far, right? Are they all dead? Alhamdulillah. Look at the topi of this one. Okay. So now, when you go to, let's start with guidance, because guidance is right across the street from us. You have person A who owns the house. Okay? The bank. Okay? And then you have guidance. And then you have the buyer. 3 things, right? The bank, guidance, and the buyer. So now, you find a house that you like. You go to guidance. House is worth 100,000. Right? You go to guidance. Guidance tells you, oh, the whole financing, yada, 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 all of that stuff. Your house comes out to 125,000. How much was the house before? 10. This one's more expensive. So why would I go through them? Okay, I'll explain to you what happens. You say, well, this house is sold, the loan is sold, what is it called, Freddie Mac? What is it called? Whatever, you know what I'm talking about. They sell the bank to him, and then the loan goes, and all of that other stuff. The same thing happens here. You're right, the same thing happens. There's a big difference, though, between the two. The difference is that the buyer goes to guidance. Okay? This is one transaction. Right or wrong? Remember one thing in Sharia. When a transaction changes, money resets. I'll give you an example. Let's say Amin is deserving of zakat. I give him zakat. This is my $50 zakat. Now with that zakat money, he's hungry, so he goes to Jimmy's. He wants to buy a burger. Now will Jimmy say, oh, you have zakat money, I can't take it. No, it was zakat for Amin. But once Amin gives, it's no longer zakat now. It's his money. Where does this come from? In Bukhari. Barira radiallahu anha was given zakat. She was one of the Prophet's khadim slaves. And the Prophet said, Barira, will you not feed us? She said, Ya Rasulullah, it is zakat. The Prophet said, Barira, it's zakat for you, not for me. It's reset. Otherwise, if you take interest and then someone comes to buy, you're going to be like, where did you get your money from? What business do you do? Where is it for? You're going to be a financial advisor for everyone then. So it's not possible. So remember, when money comes to it resets. Make sense or no? Is there anyone that's struggling with this and needs me to explain this? Never have to. I just met the person who runs Jimmy Burgers there and Portos. Their son is a very good youngster here. So I've been knowing him for a few weeks now. And then last night I found out he owns Jimmy. So I said, now I can't make fun of Jimmy's anymore. So the difference is that, is it permissible? Yes. Is there going to be barakah in it? No. There's a difference. If I give you food and it's a burger, is it going to fill your stomach? Yeah. It's fine, it can be food. But is it good for you? No, it's bad for you. So the difference between that wealth coming to the masjid is like a person eating something unhealthy. That though they're allowed to eat it, there's nothing haram in eating a burger, but it's not good for you. It's not going to benefit you. At the same time, if you were to eat healthy food, it would be beneficial to you. That is the difference between money with barakah and money without barakah. Money that has barakah in it, it will be beneficial and do good for you. And money that doesn't have barakah in it, it will be detrimental and be harmful for you. Following? So that's the reason people say, look, we don't want that type of money. We don't want that involvement in our money. The Prophet ﷺ said, in the end of time, no one will be saved from riba. Riba will end up in everyone. This is the life we're living in. Everyone is touched by riba somehow, somewhere. Following so far? Okay. So now, I told you when the transaction changes, the money resets. Guidance uses a bank and they buy from a bank. This bank says that money is $100,000. We're putting 10% interest on there. And it is $110,000. Following? Okay? Now when guidance is selling it to you, they're putting their markup on there. So 110 plus. But this is not how guidance sells it though. Guidance sells it like this. They sell it to you for 110. They sell it to you for 110. UIF does something different. Guidance sells it for 110. However, you give a down payment. Let's say your down payment is 20%. What's 20% of 110? It's $22,000. Right? So what they do is they say, you own 20% of the house. Right or wrong? And the rest $90,000 you owe guidance. Yes or no? So your house is 20% yours and 90% guidances. Right or wrong? 80%, right? Okay, so now you're living in your home. There is no that, okay, this room belongs to guidance and this room belongs to us. No, it doesn't work like that. It's the whole house, right? So because you are living in guidance's home, they charge you rent. Do you see that? So now because they're charging you rent is where they make their extra money. It's an Islamic finance company. Yeah, it's an Islamic finance company. Do you see how that works? Yeah. That's what I explained to you. They're obviously going to charge. It's because they have taken the hit of the interest. Interest occurred here. We never said they weren't. But that's exactly why I'm saying this whole thing. Because people say, what is the point? And I just told you, when a transaction changes, the concept of riba changes. So they use a non-Muslim in between. They have non-Muslim entities in between. And whether they get guna or not, that's on them. I'm not going to vouch for them. I don't have any business or I'm not endorsing them or anything from that capacity. But listen to it for a second. We research their contracts in depth. We don't just say something the way it is. Let's say, for argument's sake, guidance has a Muslim taking interest there. He's doing haram, that's on him. We're talking about you and me. When you and I buy that transaction, the transaction resets. That's what we're saying. Are you following that? Okay. Now someone says, well, it costs me more. Yes, of course it's going to cost you more. You have another person involved. Does halal meat not cost you more than normal meat? Does halal food and Zabiya food not cost you more? No one says, no, but why would I pay more for this money? Yes, well, there's more people being involved. There's more effort. It's common sense. None of us need a house. This thing where people say, no, we need a house. No. The Prophet ﷺ's home was as big as this area right here. If the man who was the leader of the ins and the jinn of dunya and akhirah has a home that big, then you and I don't need a bigger home than this. That's the reality. Now if you want to go down this home finances opportunities, then you have certain options in a non-Muslim country. Because over here the system is built on riba and capitalism. How do you pull someone out? So that's where everyone is sitting and doing mental gymnastics of trying to pull people out of riba. Both of you own the house. If something happens to the house, the percentage you own, you're liable, the percentage they own, they're liable. Following? That's a very key difference. We're not talking about that. That is not the discussion for today. I respect and love you all, but please, this is not a debate. We're not here, the topic is not that. I'm here to explain what's happening. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. No one's telling you to do it. Are we good on that? This is an explanation of the fifth of it. No one's forcing you to do it. No one's forcing you have to do it. No one's saying this is the best manner. No. This is the manner right now, and I'm explaining it to you. Very big difference. Do I encourage this? No. Should you opt for this? No. I just told you, this much of a room is enough. That's my view and perspective. But people are doing it, so I'm explaining it. Make sense? Okay. UIF is a different concept. UIF says we put 10% $100,000. We are going to sell you this house now, and we're going to add $15,000 to it. So we're going to sell it to you for $125,000. So they've taken the house, and now they sell the house to someone else. I'll give you an example. You go to a company who is owning something and they're paying interest on it. And then they say, for example, you have a shopping plaza. I know the one across the street is owned by a Muslim, but let's say a shopping plaza was not owned by a Muslim and there was interest on it. You say, I want to rent a store here. Now will someone say, well, you're paying interest because the plaza is on interest? No. The one who owns the plaza, he's paying the interest. My transaction is with him. Are you following? Okay. However, in UIF, this concept is called murabaha bin naf'a. It's called murabaha bin naf'a, which means that this item was worth $10,000. I'm telling you it's worth $10,000, but I'm going to sell it to you for $15,000. You know, you go somewhere else and say, I bought it for 10, I'm only making $2, $12 off of you. This is called murabaha. However, you own this property completely. So if something happens to it, you are liable 100%. The difference here was you were paying rent, so your liability is changed as well. The difference here is, are you following? Again, I will say the same thing one more time. I understand that the interest is being taken, but from a fiqhi perspective, when the transaction changes, then the value of that sin resets. It doesn't carry on to the person in front of you. When someone comes to you and you have a hijab and you want to sell it to them, you're not obliged to ask them, where did you get your money from? If they got interest money and they came to give it to you, it's not said that you've taken interest, because the transaction changes. They have added, UIF bought the house. That's their property. They are selling it to you for a higher price. One person speak, please. One person. Go ahead. One person. Wait. The bank charged interest and put it on the home. UIF incurred it. Meaning, however they have another person, one person has to have taken the interest. One person definitely did the transaction of interest. There's no doubt about it. Are you following? However, after that person did it, they presented to you without the interest concept, but giving you a whole figure. And saying the value is 110,000, I will charge you for 125,000. Does that make sense? There is interest in it, but the first person paid for it. Following? Okay. The third thing, and this is very, very important to hear. There's a lot of scholars that say that in a non-Muslim country, you can buy your first home through a normal mortgage. Because Muslims in a secular country need political stabilization, and if they don't get a home, they won't be able to grow, and they don't grow, all of that other stuff. I don't agree with it. I don't endorse it. Even though some of them are scholars I look up to and I respect, I don't think it is a necessity. I don't think it's a need. That's number one. Number two is that there's another group of scholars that say this is Darul Harb. Does anyone know what Darul Harb is? So Darul Harb literally means place of war. Darul Islam, the place of Islam. In Darul Harb, we are allowed to take interest. Islamically in Darul Harb, we are allowed to take interest. And there's a group of scholars who say America is Darul Harb, and therefore you can take interest in it. This is a very, very, very big academic mistake, and I'll tell you why. There is actually a third category, which no one is talking about, and that is Darul Aman. They say either Darul Islam or Darul Harb. That's not true. Darul Islam was Medina. Darul Harb was Makkah. Even though in Makkah you could take interest, we understand, that's fine. Because the idea is what? You're trying to destroy the economy, get out of it, all of that other stuff, right? Then you had Darul Aman. Which was Darul Aman? Where was Darul Aman? Habasha was Darul Aman. Was it Darul Islam? No. Was it Darul Harb? No. It was Darul Aman, the place you have treaty with. Now, when it comes to Darul Harb, there are two fundamental rulings people forget. Number one, it is wajib to migrate from Darul Harb. You are not allowed to stay in Darul Harb. The whole purpose is not to remain there. The idea is take whatever means you can get the heck out of there. That's number one. Number two, in Darul Harb, you cannot even do a nikah in Darul Harb. What we do is we take all the benefits, and when it comes to interest, no, this is Darul Harb. How is this Darul Harb? You can pray Salah. You know what Darul Harb is? You can't pray Salah. Yes, some scholars say Darul Harb you can't give adhan. And there is an adhan restriction here. But the adhan restriction here is not for the fact that you can't pray, but because it's inconvenience to those who are hearing that sound. I told you that friend of mine in Detroit, he said one time he walked out of his home and in Hamtramck you can give adhan loudly. And there's a city in Detroit you can give adhan loudly. So he walked out of there and he hears the adhan. And he says one normal guy, one of the African American brothers, he walked out. He said, man, they're playing the same music again. He said, they're playing the same music again. So, this is in Darul Harb. The reason we don't give adhan is not because we can't practice a religion, it's just an inconvenience. We have more rights here than in most Muslim countries. I once had a debate with a person who was a scholar from a Muslim country. And while we were discussing, the debate got a bit heated. And then he said, "Where did you study?" And I said, "I studied in America." He said, "Oh, yeah, now Islam is coming from America." He said very sarcastically. "Oh, now this is where people go learn," like as if like they have a monopoly on Islam, or they have a monopoly on Islamic knowledge and education. And I was like, "Where was Imam Bukhari from?" He's from Bukhara, Uzbekistan. "Where was Tirmidhi from?" He's from Uzbekistan. Muslim was from Iran. Abu Dawood was from Pakistan. According to some, Balochistan, they say. Allah knows best. He probably wasn't from there, but somebody decided to write it down. Ibn Majah from Iran, Nasa'i from Iran. None of these are Arab. None of these are from the Arab world. But you all go back to them. Imam Abu Hanifa was Persian. Shafi was from Gaza. All these were from all over the place. Anyway, so then I said to him, I said, "I have more freedom to talk on my member in America than you do on your member in your Muslim country." I said, when I go give my khutbah or lecture, I said, it's not run by anybody. No one sees it. That's a big ni'mah. And then once we get off the stage, everyone has one opinion. You know, the Imam gives one lecture, and the Imam listens to 20 lectures afterwards. We give one lecture here. Once we get off, someone comes. "See, sir, today, mashallah, you spoke about love of Allah, very good. But we really need to speak about Tahara as well." I said, "Okay, inshallah." Go a little forward. Another guy goes, "Mufti sir, you spoke about, we should talk about riba. Everyone's in riba." "Okay, inshallah." Little bit. "Mufti sir, you see how you kid haircuts are? How much am I going to talk about in one Jummah khutbah?" And then when I talk about 5, 6 things, you don't stay on topic, Mufti sir. "What do you mean I don't stay on topic? You tell me to talk about 10 things. And when I go talk on 10 things, you say I don't stay on topic." This is my dilemma. Remember one thing, if you ever have a suggestion or advice to give to an alim, give with adab and ihtaram. To not mean just any alim. And measure it and value it, that are you in the position to advise the person in front of you. Just the way you won't go to someone older than you and admonish them for no reason. If you're going to admonish an alim, make sure you have a reason to it. Mufti Radha al-Haq, my teacher, says, scolding an alim, when laymen and laywomen, they scold an alim or they critique an alim, unko aisa karna chahiye tha, he should have done it like this. It's like showing a candle to the sun. It's like showing a candle. We're not saying we're above criticism. We all have checks and balances. But the reality is that every person is walking in with a tanqidi mind, not a tanfi'i mind. They're all walking in with the mind to criticize and not benefit. We rate the khutbahs. I was in Houston, they said, "We started a new great thing." I said, "What?" "We rate our khatib." I said, "Astaghfirullah. What is this, Yelp? You rate your khatib?" The guy comes with khutbahs and rating it 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. What is this?